Hey kids, Mr. Wagner here. Welcome back to biology. This is our first week of actual content, and we're going to be talking a little bit today about something called the characteristics of life. So here's the question: how do we know if and when something is alive? Well, for human beings, it might be pretty easy. You can check a pulse, so you can check and see whether or not they're actually breathing. Is there any breath? Is their chest going up and down with their lungs? But what about for other living things? Like maybe a mushroom or a parasite or something that you're not even sure if it's alive. So we're going to talk today a little bit about something called the characteristics of life. And we're going to memorize that, or help memorize it, with a mnemonic device. That's a little phrase that you maybe say or use that helps you remember things. An example of one would be like, my very elderly mother just saw us near Paris. And that would stand for my very elderly Mercury, Venus, Earth. Mother, Mars, just saw us, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, near Neptune, and Paris for Pluto, even though Pluto's not technically a planet anymore. But the idea is you remember them in order by the phrase, and usually the sillier or the goofier the phrase is, the easier it is to remember. So here's a phrase I want you guys to remember to talk about characteristics of life. Children shouldn't run holding molten glass. Now, that's pretty goofy and silly, so you're thinking, molten glass? What does that mean? Well, first and foremost, if you have a picture of kids running around with molten glass, that's like liquid lava, but it's like glass in their hands, and you want to say, children shouldn't run holding molten glass. Well, that stands for phrases C, S, R, H, M, G. Let's pull up our worksheet. So you're going to go to the assignment that says All About Me Characteristics of Life Lab assignment. And in that assignment, you're going to pull up a worksheet that you can work on. And here's kind of what it looks like. It looks like this one, the Characteristics of Life Lab. Notice that I put little windows in here for you to actually type in all your answers. And we're going to talk about what scientists use to determine whether or not something is actually alive. So the first one on the left here, it has these letters C, S, R, H, M, G. That's where you're going to write children shouldn't run holding molten glass. Go ahead and stop the video now if you need to and fill that in. Children shouldn't run holding molten glass. And then to the right of that, you can see exactly what each one of those letters stands for. C stands for cells. S stands for stimuli. R for reproduction. H for homeostasis. M for movement, and G for growth. So let's look at each one of those. Cells. Cells are the building blocks of everything that's living. If something is not composed of living cells, it's not alive. Don't care what it is, it was not alive if it's not composed of living cells. Respond to stimuli. In other words, if there's an outside something, stimulus, that comes in and affects you, living things have to be able to respond to their environment and respond to all those other details. Okay? So for instance, if there is a hot fire, a living creature will try to move away from the fire. If there is water for a plant underground, its roots will grow toward the water. So that's a way of responding to stimuli. Reproduction. Living things have to be able to reproduce in some way, shape, or form. For most animals and humans, of course, that reproduction occurs when a man and a woman get together. But there are other types of reproduction that can occur either asexually, you don't need a partner, or sometimes they just replicate by dividing and splitting, and now you got two of the same thing. That's what would happen in cells. So reproduction. Now this doesn't simply mean simply because an uncle of mine is not able to have kids that he's not a human being. What it means is he is a human, and as a general rule, human beings are able to reproduce given the right set of procedures and processes, so he would qualify in there. We're not talking about each and every individual has to be able to reproduce, all the time. So that's what we're talking about. Homeostasis. Homeostasis would be, basically, the ability to maintain a stable internal environment. The ability to maintain a stable internal environment. So if you are inside of a room has to be able to keep a proper temperature. It has to be able to have the lights on at a certain mark. It has to be able to have a certain amount of breeze maybe coming in and out of it with the windows. Same for living things. Living things may have to have a constant body temperature if you're warm-blooded. human beings and living things all have to have regulated water levels. They have to have regular nutrient levels. They have to have all these internal systems going on that are in balance and in a steady, stable, constant homeostasis. It's the best way to say it. Movement. All things that are alive need to be able to move in some way, shape, or form. Now, I know a tree cannot get up and walk with legs, but a tree can actually orientate and twist its branches so that its leaves actually face where the sun is. If you ever see palm trees growing in tropical islands, they're almost never straight up and down. They're almost always at a sway or a lean, and the reason is they're trying to find where the sun is. They're actually growing toward the sun, the same way that their roots actually grow toward water. So movement could be very, very super small. It could be microscopic, but movement is one of those aspects. And then finally, growth. You have to start out as something small and then eventually work up to something mature or large. Now, even for things like amoebas or cells that divide, when they actually first divide, they do get a little bit bigger, and so there is some growth that goes on. Okay, so go ahead and stop the recording if you need to and fill in those answers for your Characteristics of Life lab. And then we're going to go on to the lab itself. So if you need to stop the video, do that now, please. All right. Looks like we're going to go on then. We have a bunch of things that we're going to show you, and you're going to write down, or circle I should say, whether it is alive, dead, dormant, a product of a living thing, or never alive. Let's talk about each one of those. Alive, that means it's currently living, it is currently alive. Dead, it was once alive, now it's not. Dormant, dormant is like in hibernation. Think of like a bear that goes into hibernation over the winter and sleeps. If the conditions are right, the sleeping or dormant object can come to life again. Product, something that's made from a living thing. Anything where you can take something that was once alive and make something from it, that would be a product of a living thing. Or the category is never alive. And then once I show you these objects, you're going to not only decide which one of these it is, but you're going to decide your reason for the decision. Why did you say alive or dead or dormant or product? Okay? So I'm going to get up and I'm going to move the camera around here, and we're going to show you what some of these are. And the only way to get the numbers of what these objects are is to pay attention to this video. If you do need to stop the video as we go and make sure that you got the right thing, that's fine. I'll go through them one by one, though, as we do it. So let's shut the video and turn it around. All right. This is number 1. There it is. And this is a thing that Mr. Ewitz has to water every day. So you're going to write down whether or not number 1 is alive, dead, dormant, product of something that was alive, or never alive. So there it is, number 1. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 looks like it is a belt. Number 2, belt. You're going to write down alive, dead, dormant, product, never alive, and you're going to tell me why you think it is what it is. You can always back up the video if you need to see these again, but number 2 is a black belt. Number 3. Number 3 looks like it is a bone. You're going to tell me which one it is and why you picked the answer that you did for number 3. Number 4. Here's number 4. Looks like it's a pine cone. Number 4. Number 5. Number 5 looks like it is a cork that goes like in a wine bottle. Now, some of you say, I'm not sure what cork is made of or where it comes from, whatever. You're just going to take your best guess. Remember, it's okay to be wrong in science. Scientists are wrong all the time. That's how learning happens. But you're going to take a best guess. Cork. Number 5. Number 6. Number 6 is going to be, it looks like a cotton ball. So you're going to tell me what that is. Alive, dead, dormant, product, never alive. Again, stop the video if you need to, if I go too fast. Pick it up wherever you left off. Number 7. Number 7 looks like a turtle shell. Turtle shell. Number 7. Number 8. Number 8 also looks like acorns. Little tiny acorns. Take a look there. Go around to this side so you can kind of see what they look like. Acorns, this is number 8. Number 9. Number 9 looks like it is one of these things. Looks like a water feature. You're going to have to take a guess at what number 9 is. Number 10. Here's number 10. And number 10 could either be what's right there is crawling, or the thing inside there that's poking his head up and around as he, we might actually even see him go after this. That would be pretty cool. Just going to leave it here and see if he's interested in eating something. I'll come back if he comes back out. That's number 10. Number 11. Number 11 looks like it's some seeds. Number 11 is seeds. And finally, number 12. Number 12 looks like a rose. Number 12 looks like a rose. All right, any thoughts on 1 through 12? I'm going to review them one more time, going backwards. Number 12. Number 11. Number 10. Number 9. Number 8. Number 7. Number 6. Number 5. Number 4. Number 3. Number 2. And finally, number 1. All right. I'm going to set the camera back down onto the computer here. And Mr. Wagner will check back in. All right. We'll see where everybody's at. So you're going to write down your reason for each of those. And then we'll go back to our worksheet here, our lab. And we'll see what it says. Find the conclusion. After doing the lab, use complete sentences to describe something new you learned about the characteristics of life. Characteristics of life. Looks like